Hi guys, long time no see. It certainly has been a long time, hasn't it? I thought I'd just show you and have a quick chat about what I'm up to and what I'm going to be doing, as I keep getting messages almost on a weekly basis as to whether there are going to be any videos, any new videos anyway, and what I'm up to, what I'm going to do next. So this video is about this fantastic new guillotine, well, new to me anyway. It's quite an old guillotine that was paid for by the subscribers to the channel a long time ago through the donations that I've been sent. So thank you very much to those people. I really do appreciate all the help that I had in being able to buy a piece of equipment like this. And it's been a while. I'll tell you why it's been a while at the end of the video, but what I thought I'd do first is just show you the guillotine. I've spent about a day and a half assembling it and it didn't work very well. So the reason I had to assemble it is because the guillotine was collected by a friend on his trailer. We got it to the house. It was like a farm tractor with a baler on the front that lifted the guillotine onto his trailer because it's just so heavy. And when we got it to the house, of course, we couldn't lift it off the trailer, so I had to strip it down on the back of the trailer and take it in piece by piece into the workshop, where it's just sat in the corner for 4 years. Unbelievable. So I then had to put it together. So I've taken about a day and a half to assemble it, and it didn't work very well. One of the main reasons is because of the blade adjustment. So I'll give you a quick rundown of the guillotine, show you how it works. Very interesting mechanism on it, far more to it than I initially thought. So I'll show you that first, and then I'll have a chat about what my intentions are for the channel afterwards. This is a nice wide sheet metal guillotine. It's 50 inches or 120 centimeters or 4 foot and 2 inches wide. It's capable of cutting that up to 16 gauge. And it's a real sturdy bit of kit. It's not completely together at the moment. There's this guard that goes over the front to stop you from getting your fingers in the way, and it's also got this hold down blade, and the rubber's disintegrated underneath, and that holds the sheet down when you stomp on the treadle. So you basically stomp on the treadle, and then the blade moves down through the steel. I have used it without this hold down, and it almost seems like a bit of a redundant feature to me, this, but I will persevere and I will put it back on. Initially I was just going to use it with no guard on at all, just have the blade completely exposed. But knowing my sort of luck with these things, I'll end up cutting my fingers off. So I will put the guard back on. When the guard's on, you have got a fairly decent gap here to look through, and you can see the blade quite well through that. So it's not as bad as it looks. I initially thought, well, I'm not going to be able to see the blade and I don't want to cut anything blind. Or kind of judge how far the cutter is going to be away from the blade. You know, that's ridiculous. You want to be able to scribe a line, slide it in there and be able to see exactly where you are. I'll show you the blade setup next. There's the blade exposed. Pretty ruthless bit of kit, really. You just stomp on the treadle and down it goes. And that whole operation didn't seem very smooth to me, and there also seemed to be bits missing, contact points missing. These things work like a pair of scissors, so you've got a moving contact point. So as you push the blade down, the contact point moves along, just like a pair of scissors really. So as that blade contacts the other blade, it moves along. So it's moving along, and then you'll see, or you might not be able to see, there's actually a slight gap now And that's at the start of the cut. And it just follows it all the way along, just as a pair of shears would work. Tin shears or scissors. It isn't a blade that just comes down in one foul swoop at the same angle. It actually moves along. Yeah, it's really interesting. And it's got some bushes in there, some brass bushes, so it's not steel to steel, which I've greased up. This thing weighs so much, I can't believe how heavy each piece is. And you've got some pretty thick old steel there, as you can see. That blade was as much as I could do to lift it off the floor and then lift it into position. I'll show you the blade adjustment behind. So we're behind the blade now, and you've got these bolts that you adjust in and out to adjust the blade over. What I noticed that the whole cut was full of gaps. Now the way that I've set this up is to cut paper with it. I can't remember where I was told this donkeys years ago about setting up a blade on a guillotine. If it'll cut a piece of paper really well, then it will cut metal exceptionally well. So it's a bit counterintuitive, but that's the way it works, because the paper finds where you haven't got a really good contact point. So it's just like a set of tappets really on a car. You just wind the bolt in and then lock it off with a nut just to stop it from undoing. These bolts here are the actual bolts that retain the blade to the backing, and you can sort of back these off slightly if you've got a strong contact point in that area, because when you tighten the bolts down either side, then this goes tight again and you can just nip it up afterwards. So the lower one has only got height adjustment on it, so all the in and out adjustment is done on that top blade. I've found a date stamp on the blade. Now I'm assuming that that is the date of the blade, 1994. I would assume. It does look about that age if you look at it. This is the mechanism from behind again. So there's the treadle, obviously, just stomp down on that. And this is the spring, which absolutely blows my mind how this works. It really does, because if you look at it and you weigh up how much each part weighs, we have to have at least 60 kilos here. I hauled the coffee machine into the back of my van, and this was easily as heavy as that, if not heavier, and that's 60 kilos. So you've got that. I mean, this arm alone, it's all made out of 10 or 12 mil thick, and the rest probably thick steel, maybe even thicker than that. So this great big arm, and then the treadle weighs an absolute ton. Now the treadle itself, all the weight is pulling down, so you've got the weight of the treadle, and that's pulling down. Without this spring or mechanism attached, you have to like lift that up off the floor and put a block of wood under it to hold it up. It's, you know, and seriously, you have to hold it up. So you've got the weight of the treadle, you've got the weight of the arm, you've got the weight of the blade at, like I say, at least 60 kilos, and then you've got the spring going in the opposite direction. So the spring, I would assume the spring somehow would have been attached to here, but then this would then, here, I would assume that this would have attached to the frame of the guillotine. But because of the way the geometry of the machine works, it's actually pulling down this way, and the tension on that spring is pulling the blade towards the top blade, towards the lower blade. So the bed of the actual guillotine, it's pulling it towards that, and that's how the whole thing is held up. So if I just operate the treadle a few times, you can see that the way the geometry is set up is when the treadle goes down, it actually puts tension on that spring, and that tension is bringing that treadle back up, and it's all about holding pressure against that blade, and that's what's holding it up, which is, I mean, if I designed it, I'd never have thought of that. a very, very clever idea. I've got a piece of masking paper in there. Nothing special, just standard brown masking paper. If I stomp down on the shear now, there we go, look. Beautiful clean cut with no gaps at all. When the blade's not set up properly, when you set up a blade on a guillotine, you put the paper in, and what you'll notice is if the blade isn't set properly, you'll get it so that it will probably cut most of it, and then what you'll have is you'll have little sections that haven't cut, so it will cut each side, and then there'll be a few patches along it where it's just completely missed. And like I was saying, that contact point that moves all the way along isn't contacting all the way along, it's basically missing pieces and going round it. So that's the way to set up your blade, so that you know that you've got a great cut all the way along. The blades are in fantastic condition anyway. I'm so lucky that there's no lumps taken out, because people do tend to abuse these things. They cut pieces of bar or harden something or other, and then it takes a chunk out of the blade, and then of course every time you cut a piece of sheet steel thereafter and it gets to that lump, it leaves a mark in the steel or the aluminium, whatever sheet you're cutting, and you can't get rid of it. You probably have to have the blade properly reground and sharpened. I think the blades are reversible as well, so from what I can work out, I've got the ruler out and I'm pretty sure it's double-sided, so you could just take all the fittings out, turn the blade up the other way, so you've got another hit at it if the blade did go blunt or you damaged it somehow. This has definitely hardly done any work. The guy that I bought it off said he'd owned it for a number of years and had hardly used it, and the person that he bought it off hadn't used it either. It has suffered a bit of rust damage, and I think it's because he probably had it parked in the doorway and the rain was blowing through on it, but fortunately it hasn't gone too badly. The worst of the rust managed to sort out down there, so I've treated that, got some primer on there. I am going to sand the whole thing down and paint it up nicely, make it look the business, sort this out as well, make it look pretty again. Now the hold down bar does locate into this slot, and this is what puts sprung pressure against the hold down bar, so it's actually got a spring of its own pushing down as well. So here's the spring, there's the spacer, this locates into here like so, and we have sheared off bolts. Bit of a pain. The bottom ones are fine, but both sides for some reason have both sheared off, so I need to get those studs out and sort that out. So I've still got a bit of faffing about to do. The other thing which has thrown a tiny bit of confusion into the works is I've got these, which is a very, very light sprung steel plates. Now, they almost look like offcuts from something, and I'm pretty sure that when I stripped it down, they were in there somehow between the blade and the frame, but I can't work out if they were fitted in there. I mean, they just look completely like offcuts of some description. If anybody knows where the hell these go, please let me know. But they're just so weak, I can't think that they'd be used to centralise this in any way, and it just runs up and down so freely. I can't think that there's any sort of need for anything to centralise that blade. So yeah, I just don't know whether these were like literally somebody was cutting this stuff and there was piles of it, and somehow some of it ended up falling down in there. Could be something like that. I can't think of a better sort of reason really for it to be in there. There we go, look at that. Effortless. And then, so the whole point of having a machine like this, dead straight cuts. I buy in sheets of steel or aluminium 4x2. You can go in lengthways, cut it. Whatever you cut, you end up with both pieces being unmolested, like they would be, you know, like a pair of shears, where one side's good and the other side's all picked up along the edge and stretched out of shape. You've also got the issue when you use cut-off wheels or cutting discs of heat generated and warping the steel as well. So dead clean, dead straight, no distortion. That's the point of this machine. This is why I wanted it. So that's it. There's me old new guillotine. Once again, thank you very much to all that helped me pay for it with your donations. Greatly appreciated, as I know the videos were to you. So, to answer the questions that I keep being asked about. So, number one question, Trev, what's happened? Why aren't we seeing any more videos? Or are you going to be doing any more videos? Well, I most definitely am. It's always been my intention to continue making videos. I had never ever intended to have this amount of time off, but it has done me the world of good. The reason it's done me the world of good, because it's given me some time to reflect and think about things and put some boundaries in place as well. Obviously anything you do in life is going to attract the attention of people, which is good and bad, and I don't know why it is, but there does seem to be a kind of funny thing with particularly the car community, where there's this gross sense of entitlement that people have over what they get useful people to do, and I have most certainly been through my life the victim of this many times. So like I said, I've had time to reflect. This has been on the floor for 4 years since I bought it. The last 3 years have been spent building a new workshop for the catering equipment that made it into my garage. So my garage got filled with the catering equipment, so I lost my space. The business takes up, I estimate, at least 40 hours of my time every single week. So it really is a full-time job. To the people that said, you're wasting your time, that's a complete waste of your talents, I'm actually happier than I was before, and I'm certainly not financially worse off. I would say I'm actually a little bit better off than when I was repairing cars. And like I say, when I go back to talking about repairing cars, I think one of the biggest problems is it's such a labour intensive job, which people just don't understand or really fully appreciate, or if they do, then they don't care really. It's just one-way traffic. And I think for the problem with us guys that repair cars is it's so labour intensive, it's so time consuming. You always get into this cycle of head down, work really hard and try and get to the end of it to try and get the project, the job finished, and you're never really truly thinking straight. And like I say, I've had this time away from YouTube, I've had the time away from repairing cars, and it's done me no end of good, because it's made me realise where I was going so wrong, so badly for so many years. 30 years in the motor trade, and I ran my own repair shop from 1992 to 1999, and I made no money at all. I think 7 years is a pretty good benchmark, you know, 7-year itch and all that, but I literally had to finish trading in that business. I made some terrible decisions, and I got pretty badly abused by a friend that managed to negotiate me into restoring cars. I restored a car for him, which was going to be, it was going to be a demonstrator at car shows. So it was basically something I did for free, and I spent like a whole month of my time restoring this car, which was going to be used at shows and stuff. It was going to be his own personal car that he would take to shows, which would promote my business. And the deal was I sort of did it for nothing. Of course, 2 weeks or a month or something after the car was painted, it was sold for thousands of pounds, and I came out of the business having to find about £3,000, which I went off and got a bank loan. So I got a bank loan to get out of my business. So as you can probably appreciate, that kind of set me up for not wanting to go back down the road of repairing cars for people, getting involved with other people and their projects. I do still get asked quite a lot about working on people's cars. It's quite a reasonable ask, really, isn't it? You know, you've got a guy that's skilled enough to restore a car, so why wouldn't you go and ask him? And as they say, if you don't ask, you don't get, and it's a fair enough ask. Unfortunately, not everybody takes no as an answer. They just keep asking again. I mean, one of the things I always say to people is, what have you got against going and paying a business that restores cars and booking it in and getting it done properly? And of course, the default knee-jerk stock reaction is always, oh my God, Trev, have you seen how much these guys charge? You get my point. I think anybody that's in the car repair trade is now screaming, saying, yeah, you're absolutely bang on there. So, so to all the people that want to see new content, this is exactly what I'm working towards. This is a win-win situation. Making videos is something that I want to do. Watching the videos is something that you want to do. I get to be on my own without any interference from anybody, which isn't going to happen anymore. I've put plenty of boundaries in place. So the new catering building is finished at last. 3 years in the making. It's taken me 3 months to empty my workshop. So this was completely full up to about here with just stuff that I dumped in here. I've chucked loads of stuff away, stuff that I didn't want to part with, or I've just given it away, and I just realised I had to clear the decks, and there's no point me trying to make videos while I'm in that kind of chaos. Without the time and without the space in a workshop, I can't do anything of any worth for people. What I really want to do, my objective, my goal is that I want to be able to walk straight in here and start working on something immediately, not have to spend half an hour moving things from pillar to post before I could even start filming. So that's where I want to get to. It's going to be later this year before I get to that stage. I want to paint the whole workshop out. When I've got it finished, it's all going to be painted out. I'm having all new LED lighting put in, so low power LED, which is going to be quite bright, and I'm really praying that it doesn't play the camera up because these things can flicker, but I have found some flicker free lighting, and I have trialled one and it did seem to work superbly well. So that's the way I'm going to go, and I'm going to be all set up before I start, and then I'm going to roll some videos out for you guys. For the people that really want to watch the videos, congratulations, that's exactly what you're going to get. We're both on the same page. This is what we both want, and I couldn't be happier about it, and I'm really excited about things as well. Like I say, this is all taken so long. This workshop, I saw another guy that makes videos. I don't follow him closely, but I did catch one of his videos where he's talking about people lending him their advice. He's just said, well, this workshop that I'm stood in, you know, people going on about sense of entitlement. This workshop that I'm stood in, I built this. and I built this, and he built his own, and he said, and you can do the same too. And this is what I extend to people, is that nothing's been easy. It's all been hard work. 2008, I put in for planning permission. I hadn't built this until 2012. Yeah, so 2008 to 2012 to build this, because I was working full time. I just had to keep chipping away at it, and I had no money either. It worked really well, because by the time I built the part with the materials that I bought, so then I put it together, laid all the concrete on the floor and everything. By the time I'd finished it, I'd managed to save up a couple of £100 that I could use to go off and buy some more materials and start the next phase. And that's why it took all that time to do that, and of course working full time. So that's why, you know, but you know, it's done. With the work you put into things, eventually it gets done. And I think you're older and wiser, certainly older, now 56 years of age. You know, I was only 52 when I went to collect this. Thanks again to Chris for picking it up. I did make sure Chris was well paid as well for helping me pick this up. So, you know, always make sure you pay people for what you do or what you get them to do. It's always an honest way of carrying on, as far as I'm concerned. So what sort of videos are you going to be making, Trev? What content can we expect to see from you? Well, it's going to be basically about metal shaping and fabricating repair sections for cars, certainly to start with. So it's going to be my own techniques that you won't see typically on other videos, because it's stuff I've come to the conclusion myself. So many times I've been stuck in a situation where I'm all on my own. I've got nobody really to ask or advise, and I've had to devise things myself, techniques that have been successful. No point me showing you stuff that doesn't work or that I haven't found successful. As far as projects go, I'm not looking to rush headlong into another lengthy project. For reasons I've already discussed, I think, in this video, made it quite clear about taking on long-winded things. For other people, I'm not particularly looking to take on something really, really long-winded immediately for myself, although there are many, many things that I would like to do. Definitely loads of things I like to do, but I've also got to stay level-headed enough to realise about the whole time situation and how long things take. But what I want to do is certainly stuff that's going to be really, really attention grabbing and interesting. If you like things like the seal fabrication video, which has certainly been my most successful videos of all the videos I've made, that seal fabrication one, you know, a bit of my stupid humour thrown in with a bit of clever metal shaping, and sort of, you know, a bit of education in there as well for people that know absolutely nothing. Always got to sort of try and inject a little bit of that in as well, just not assume that the view knows the basics even. So that's what you're going to see. I've filled volumes and volumes of books up on, I've got at least 20 videos all mapped out that I definitely want to make, and I've got a top 5. Obviously that top 5 is going to be the first 5 videos that I release. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing, so don't you worry, there's going to be some fab content coming up. So that about wraps it up. I'm rambling now, I can't think of much else to say, except for the next video that will be an update on the rust buster, rust protection video. I'll probably be adding a few little bits to that to keep it interesting. That'll be in the next few weeks, and then there's going to be a bit of a gap, and then I'm going to be able to hit you with some decent content, the sort of stuff that you actually want to see, not filler videos like this. So until next time, I'll say bye for now.